Okay, guys, we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. This episode's going to be a bit different. This episode's going to be a tier list. The first tier list I've ever done. It's a MCU Phase One tier list. Shout out to Evan. Evan's been doing the tier lists. He's the god of the tier lists. He's got lots more in the tank for you guys, but I thought I'd start off with this one. It's an MCU Phase One tier list. Now, MCU Phase One is known for a lot of things, in my opinion. It's known for laying the groundwork for one of the greatest cinematic universes ever created. Of course, the MCU now is in tatters. It's fallen off. The movies are pretty bad, but at one point there was less expectation for the MCU, and these films had more modest budgets and were able to really culturally shift superhero movies as a genre and really create it as its own genre. And this became the new sort of standard for cinema and for movie making, especially come the end of Phase One with the Avengers film. But we're going to kick it off firstly with the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk, starring that guy Edward Norton. I'm putting it at C tier, because honestly, the Incredible Hulk for me, it's a film for the long time I forgot was even part of MCU Phase One. To be honest, it wasn't until a few years ago when I found out, oh, this film actually kicked off the MCU. I was like, yeah, forgot about that. Actually, it didn't kick off the MCU. Iron Man kicked off the MCU, but Hulk came out after, I believe, or one of the two. But for a long time forgot the Incredible Hulk was even part of the MCU, largely because come Avengers, Hulk has been recast again. But I put Hulk at C tier because, in my opinion, Ang Lee's Hulk was better. I liked the fact that Ang Lee's Hulk delved into the psychological side of Bruce Banner a bit more, whereas this was sort of like a soft sequel to Ang Lee's Hulk. There was some parts of it where you were like, okay, well, this happened in the first film, so it makes sense that this is happening in the second film, but it wasn't a direct sequel, and the film wasn't amazing, and particularly where we never saw Ed Norton as Hulk again, so I'm putting it at C tier. It was an okay film, but a film that I'm probably not rewatching anytime soon. Then we've got, I believe this is the first Iron Man. Yeah, we've got Iron Man 1. Oh, this is hard. Do I put Iron Man 1 at B or A? I might put Iron Man 1 at A. We'll put it at A because, again, a film I really, really liked. Robert Downey Jr. was amazing in this. This was obviously his first lead role in the MCU, and he delivers. He's a great Iron Man, and off this performance was, basically set the standard for MCU leads, where Robert Downey Jr. was charismatic, he was funny, he was emotional, he was Tony Stark. He was Tony Stark, and he done a great job at embodying Tony Stark, and did a great comic book adaptation, and but also in the same sense made the character his own. Like, we will struggle to ever see another Iron Man that isn't Robert Downey Jr. at this point, because he done so good in that role. Of course, there's the legendary line by that white bald guy who said, Tony Stark made this in a cave with scraps. That was an amazing bar, in my opinion, one of my favourite lines. But yeah, an A tier MCU film. I'm putting that as Iron Man 1. Then we've got Iron Man 2, which I quite liked, in my opinion, because I liked Mickey Rourke as the villain, Whiplash, and I liked some of the scenes with War Machine as well, and some of the fight scenes with Iron Man and War Machine. They were pretty fun. I enjoyed it more than the Hulk. I think Iron Man 2 slightly more rewatchable than the Hulk, so I'm going to put that at B. Again, another film that I really liked. Robert Downey Jr. Another great performance. We also had War Machine get recast in this film by Don Cheadle. Again, another decent performance, and again, Don Cheadle's still in the MCU to this day. So yeah. Then we've got Thor 1. Now, Thor 1, in my opinion, probably is about the same level as Hulk. Unlike Hulk, Thor 1 did lead into the grander MCU a bit more. So you'd watch Thor 1 and it sort of led into Avengers. So from that sense, it is a touch better than Hulk. But in terms of, you know, Thor, what did he have? Did he have his eyebrows dyed blonde or something? It was weird. It was not a good look. And to be honest, a lot of these Thor films haven't been good. Apart from the third Thor film, the rest of them have been pretty bad. Thor 1 was okay. Like I said, it's not a D tier. I don't think any film in MCU, spoiler alert, I don't think any film in the MCU Phase 1 is D tier, if I'm being honest. But I'm putting Thor at the C tier. Then we've got Captain America the First Avenger. Again, a film at the time which I probably didn't appreciate as much as I should have. But going back on it and seeing that film, that's probably one of the best origin films in superhero history. Think about that. I think it's up there with the likes of Batman Begins in terms of origin stories. Up there with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2002. Not as legendary, but in terms of purely an origin story, I think it does a lot of what an origin story needs to do. And again, same thing with Chris Evans as Robert Downey Jr. We will struggle to ever see another Captain America. I mean, we're seeing it now. Sam Wilson's Captain America isn't performing as well as Steve Rogers as Captain America. You know, again, great villain in the Red Skull, played by the guy who played Agent Smith in the Matrix. Of course, was introduced to Bucky and Chris Evans as Captain America as well. And then, of course, to end off Phase One, we've got the Avengers, which is the original S tier film, a film that is absolutely legendary. I think everyone would agree with me on this when saying this was a film that set the MCU, took it to a different stratosphere in terms of, okay, we've had a few smaller budget films. Iron Man 1 was relatively small budget. Thor would have been a relatively small budget. And they done decent, but Avengers was a home run. This was where all the storylines came together. We had a huge team up, and we made a great film. Well, not we. Marvel made a great film, right? And that's why it's S tier. It was the first team up on often in superhero movies, in movies in general, in these franchises where you build up individual stars. Often when the team up happens, the team up is normally pretty bad. Or not bad, but underwhelming. This was far from underwhelming. This was a great team up film, a great almost an origin story for the Avengers. It is because we're understanding the origins of why these guys are now teaming up together, what world level threat is coming up. We definitely did, in my opinion, looking back, at the time I didn't think this, but looking back, we're now suffering from a situation where, okay, well, these guys have all teamed up and they've stopped and they've saved the day. How do we go back to solo films again? And the MCU was able to do that for a bit through Phase 2 and 3. They're able to go back to solo films, and they did have a few Avengers films sprinkled in there. Of course, I'll probably do Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4 tier lists at some point. I'll probably do a Phase 2 probably after this, actually. But you've had the big team up now. Where do you go from here? Because at the end of the day, the world's been saved. How do you keep raising the stakes? How? Because you saved the world. What are you going to save? Two worlds? Going to save the universe? You know, it becomes, you just have to keep outdoing yourself. And then you're sort of in this self-perpetuating cycle of just having to keep raising the stakes for the sake of raising the stakes because you can't be seen to be taking a step backwards or step downwards. But ultimately, it was years before the MCU got to that point. It was that Avengers film came out in 2012. It wasn't until about 2019, 2020 till we actually started to realize that, you know, the MCU is falling off. You know, it can't keep carrying on like this. But to be fair, they had a really long heyday, a really long period of making a stupid amount of money off some pretty good films, and Phase 1 was the start of it. But yeah, another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag. That's my tier list for MCU Phase 1. In the S tier, we've got Avengers. In the A tier, we've got Iron Man 1 and Captain America the First Avenger. In the B tier, we've got Iron Man 2. And in the C tier, we've got The Incredible Hulk and Thor. I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Have you seen all these films? Where do you think these films should be on my tier list? Do you think there should be more films in the S tier? Do you think there should be no two films in the C tier? I'd be curious to know what you guys think. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'm out. Peace.